What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Battery Mates podcast. I am Dirty Dave. That is the Sandman Sean over there. Mr. Sean, it is New Year's Eve on recording. And so I asked you to start off the show. What's your New Year's resolution? Go.
Oh, I don't even have one, man. I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot or I had to come up with something clever. I don't really have one, man. I just keep rolling. It's we could resolutions tend to fade off and trail off. So I think it's just like, let's try to make 2024 better than 2023.
Yeah, I love it. I also don't have a New Year's resolution because I don't believe in them. So now that we're just pooping on the party, you start off the show. Let's, we are recording though on New Year's Eve. So we wish a very happy, healthy 2024 to all of our listeners and viewers. It won't be coming out until the 1st. So it's officially 2024. It's officially the year that the Atlanta Braves win the World Series, Sean. I'm very excited for the eventual parade. That's my New Year's resolution. Go to more championship parades this year, specifically if they're in Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a resolution to have, that's the one to have, I guess. So I think 2024 should be a good year for the Braves and Braves country.
Yeah. Before we get started talking about one of the major moves that'll help decide just how successful 2024 is going to be for the Braves, let's do a little bit of housekeeping stuff here. Let's, if you are listening to us on Spotify right now, don't forget you can go and view our smiling faces on YouTube. Give them a smile, Sean. There we are. Look at those. Look at those handsome faces, man. How do you not want to go on YouTube and check this out right now? If you are on YouTube already seeing us, you could just listen to us if that was too much. It might have been too much for some of the people. If you want to do that instead, you can give us a follow on Spotify. You should just follow us on both, though. Also, give us a follow on X/Twitter, just X if you're me. Give us a follow on Facebook, Battery Mates Podcast on both of those two. We also now have a TikTok. You can check out the Battery Mates on TikTok with some great clips from our shows. If you listen to the whole show and forgot about some of the highlights, it might just be on TikTok for you now. So make sure to give us a follow on there as well. But Sean, let's get into the meat and potatoes, the last big move of 2023, unless something happens before midnight tonight, which is Chris Sale is joining the Atlanta Braves in a trade from the Boston Red Sox. It's Vaughn Grissom going back. He's been talked about so much what the plans would be for him for 2024. Well, it's not going to be anybody on the Braves' decision anymore as he goes to Boston for Sale. And Sean, I'm going to start off just initial gut reaction. What do you think about this move before you even see anybody on the field?
Yeah, at first, it was I don't hate it, but I don't know that I love it. Mm-hmm. That was the initial thing, just my initial gut reaction. With a little bit of time to kind of sleep on it and chew on it a little bit. I'm actually quite a fan of the move. The big thing, especially the thing that helps me be a fan of this move, is the money coming back from Boston. So we're getting Chris Sale he's got a $27.5 million salary this year. Boston is sending $17 million over in the deal. So that puts him down to 10.5, and then 10 million of that 10.5 is deferred until 2039. So, like we saw with the Ohtani deal, deferred money isn't real money. So we are going to pay Chris Sale $500,000 this year. Okay, so yeah, we're banking on, we're betting Vaughn Grissom and $10 million in 15 years. That Chris Sale will have a productive 2024. So initial reaction was kind of like, but I'm a fan. I like it. I think it's a good move. And I think it makes sense. So what's your initial thoughts on it, Dirty Dave?
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I hate this move. I mean, I don't understand this move at all. And I'll be honest with you, I've grown up in the Chicagoland area. I watched a lot of White Sox baseball when I was a younger Dave, just loving baseball. Whenever I could get on TV watching it, I was watching it. And Chris Sale, he's going to strike out so many guys, and he's going to have some starts where he has 15 strikeouts, and you're just like, oh my goodness, Chris Sale is the baseball god's gift to the pitching mound. And then I always say if the Cy Young Award voting ended and the All Star weekend, Chris Sale probably have about 3 or 4 Cy Youngs. It's the second half of the year that Chris Sale seems to be a liability to his team. He starts losing games, giving up lots of home runs. And I think it's his violent arm motion. I think he wears himself down at a much higher rate than other pitchers do, just because of how much he puts into every single pitch and the nasty stuff that he has. And to me, I mean, do the Braves need more guys that struggle more towards the end of the season in the playoffs? I mean, can we take any more of these guys? I feel like for every time they make a move where they bring in somebody who is a clutch player, somebody who you feel like that guy is going to perform when we need him most, they bring in 1 or 2 guys and you go, I don't know if I want this guy making a start in the playoffs. I don't want this guy taking it at bat in a big spot in the playoffs. And Chris Sale is the kind of guy I don't foresee helping in the gritty months at the end of the season where the Braves might need him most.
Yeah, and I get it. The thing for me is with where the starting pitching market is at this offseason, the prices of the free agents. I mean, Boston before trading Sale, they gave Lucas Giolito almost $40 million over 2 years. Like the pitching market is outrageous in free agency,
Mm-hmm.
and the prices in free agency are driving up the prices of trade possibilities. And so, you hear Dylan Cease, and they wanted Smith Shawver, Waldrop, Vaughn Grissom, plus another. And to me, it's just I don't need Chris Sale to be an ace. I don't need ace Chris Sale. Okay, I need Chris Sale to be a fourth starter in the rotation, throw 100 to 150 innings, and don't punch anything or fall off a bike or get a comeback or back to the mound that breaks your pinky. Like, because a lot said about the injuries, but outside of the Tommy John, which, as we know, isn't what Tommy John used to be in regards to, it's not a death of a pitcher by any means. Outside of that, the injuries that he's had the last few years are freak accidents. They're flukes. They're not, So I understand the hesitation and why it's like maybe this isn't the best deal, but I think you will see Atlanta use a 6-man rotation. Some you'll see them skip some starts. Some, and I think you'll see that you know all the guys, Freed, Morton, Sale, Elder, who faded down the stretch last year, gassed. I think you're going to see them go 6-man rotation. You'll see Smith Shawver, Vines, Wyman, some of those guys get some starts, and they're going to try to keep these guys healthy going into the postseason because that's been the story the last 2 years. So I think when you look at the price on the market for what it's going to take to get a starter, and then when you look at Vaughn Grissom didn't have a place in Atlanta. I love the kid as much as anybody loves the kid, but he was never second base is his natural position. Second base is his best position, and he's never going to start over Ozzy Albies. There's never a time where Vaughn's going to beat Ozzy out for that second base position. Okay, his defense isn't good enough when he lost to Orlando Arcia last year, lost the starting job to Arcia, and then we trade for Kalinick, and like I said a couple weeks ago, you don't trade for Kalinick and take all the stuff on that you took on and do all the gymnastics you did to get him to platoon him in left field. And so, are you going to set a guy on the bench to be your platoon guy that had 1,000 OPS in AAA last year, or are you going to take a flyer on somebody like Chris Sale that is going to cost you $500,000? If the deal blows up, he's got an option for next year. You let him walk, and it is what it is. But so that's why I like the deal, and I like the deal for Vaughn. I think you see this with some of the deals that Braves make and do, even with free agents letting guys go. They're sending Vaughn to a better position. They're sending Vaughn to a spot where he can go in, be the everyday second baseman in Boston, and Boston gets a kid with 6 years of team control that can absolutely rake, and he's going to have the opportunity to improve at the major league level now. So, like I said, I am definitely more pro the move than I was initially, but like you said, we'll see how it goes this year, and you got to play the games. You got to go out there between the lines and play the games. So we'll see what Chris Sale would get. But like I said, we don't need an ace. We need Chris Sale to be Charlie Morton, and kind of that role that Morton's been the last 2 years behind Strider and Fried.
No, I mean I definitely get that. Just to me, I think that with Chris Sale, I mean he hasn't. Last year he made 20 starts, first time since 2019 he made that many starts. The injuries, and when he came back, he just hasn't looked like Chris Sale to me. He has an ERA over 6 in the playoffs. His worst seasons ERA wise in the worst months in the season are September, October, and August. It's just, to me, if everything works out, great. But if everything works out in every single trade you make, I mean, you get the 2021 Braves. So I guess it's possible, right? Um, but to me, I just want the more. I feel like to expect all these things to work out good is, I mean, it's good to have that positivity, but I don't know. I just think that with Sale, it comes down to he hasn't been as good as he was. He hasn't pitched a full season recently. He doesn't have the same stuff he used to have. He's older, and he's not good in the months that you need him to be good in. And I like the point you made of saying you might see a 6-man rotation and stretching guys out and resting guys a little more often, but I feel like we were having those conversations of doing exactly that before Sale. So does he even answer the question that you kind of walked into the offseason with, which was who's going to start after your top 2 or 3 guys next year? I don't know if he even answers that question if you have to sit him so much that you feel like, okay, now he can pitch at his best come September, October. You still might find yourself in lulls in the middle of the season where you lose a Vine start followed by a Smith Shawver smart start followed by an Elder start, and now you're in a 3-game losing streak facing an ace. So even if Strider pitches well, you don't know what happens. Those are the kind of streaks that good teams fall into and start losing confidence and start losing momentum and start feeling like they're not as good as they should be afterwards. So I just don't know what Chris Sale answers for me.
I get that. I think for me it's what guy was out there that's going to make sense for the Braves in regards to what they're going to have to give up to get somebody on the trade market. And I just think that you saw where AA was like, I'm not going to trade Smith Shawver and Waldrop. I'm just not. Those guys aren't going anywhere. And being unwilling to move those guys, you've got to say, okay, obviously he believes in those guys, but if he's unwilling to move those guys, we don't have a deep enough farm system to go. There's not other prospects to go package to send off for a guy. And so, what starting pitcher are you going to get in free agency that you're going to pay, $10.5 million to? Let alone the fact that $10 million is deferred. But who are you going to go out into free agency? I mean, the Reds just gave Montas $16 million, and he pitched one. He had one start last year, I think. So, what do you? For me, it's the value that you're getting back, the value that you're taking in, and understanding that, okay, I'm not going to find anybody any better than Chris Sale for less than $10 million, and Vaughn's not going to play anyway. So let's just go get him and see what he can do. We trust our coaches. We've got, Cranny is a heck of a pitching coach. And so you kind of say, okay, well, let's see what we can do with Chris Sale. Let's see what he can bring to the table. And the other part of it too is the Braves kind of missed having a dog. You didn't see, the Phillies have a dog. They have dogs over there. We had the spectacle with Arcia and Travis d'Arnaud, and it felt like we were missing that dog, that little edge. And I think that there might be some value in Chris Sale. The dude's a competitor. The
Hmm.
dude, he's the guy that sat there at the podium and was like, I left my nuts out on that field. Like, that dude is going to give it everything he's got every time he goes out there, and he's going to expect excellence. He's going to expect to
Hmm.
win. And so I think there's going to be some value to that as well. So is it the move that everybody wanted the Braves to make? Is it Dylan Cease? Is it Jordan Montgomery? Is it, any of those top guys? No. But if he comes over and strikes 11 guys out per nine like he did in his 20 starts last year, and if you take away his first three starts, in his last 17 starts, he had a sub 3.75 ERA. And so his first three starts, he had an 11 ERA. So, you take those first three starts out, he comes back in August, pitches those last 17 starts, striking out 11 guys per nine, and, sub four, sub 3.75. Like, that's a good fourth guy in your rotation if you get that Chris Sale. And I think that that's the expectation you got to have, is that we need three or four Chris Sale, not ace. We've got a couple of aces already, so that's kind of where I'm at. And like I said, I can see why both sides of the coin. And usually with Braves fans, if you have people on both sides of the coin, the moves tend to work out in some
Right.
capacity. If not everybody loves it and not everybody hates it, then you got to feel like, okay, AA did his job. So that's where I'm at on it. It's I'm just glad it's a move. I'm glad we're making a move. I'm glad we don't have to see Ronaldo Lopez stretched out and be a starter, because that's some of the other things that you're getting with Chris Sale. We can put Lopez back in the
Yeah.
bullpen,
Yeah. He needs
and
to be there. Yeah.
in an ideal world, yeah, and in an ideal world, maybe this gives Smith Shawver and Waldrop a full season at
Hmm.
AAA. Maybe we use Vines and Winans and some of those guys, and look, give the two 20-year-old, 21-year-old kids that we're expecting to be part of the rotation next year after Fried leaves and Morton retires. Um, let those guys get a full year to really work on their game and not do the up down. And then, so I think there are things that Sale can do, even if he's not the Chris Sale that people remember, from 2019 and before.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot on this one. So we talked about Vaughn Grissom um, going to Boston. You like the situation for him. You said you don't want it doesn't make sense for him to be the utility guy if he doesn't have to be. Do you think this move though impacts the bench enough, the depth of the team enough to warrant maybe saying Grissom might be just as valuable in that situation?
I not really,
Okay.
no, and mostly because Grissom spent all year in AAA last year. We didn't even have a spot for him on the bench last year, and I've seen things like, oh, the Braves don't have their bench figured out. Like, look, dude, for the last 2 years, we've carried a panda and a dude that swung pink swords at the end of the bench just because we could. Okay, like, and Vaughn wasn't on the bench; he was in AAA all year last year,
Hmm.
and so I just think that his value was never going to be higher. Um, and we went and got something that we could get for just him. And again, they are sending $17 million. So Boston, it's not like we traded Vaughn for Sale and now we're on the hook for all 27.5 million. So like I said, I don't, as much as I love the kid, the dude can absolutely rake, man. But I don't think that it negatively impacts our bench realistically at all. I think David Fletcher will be our utility guy, and he's a much better defender than Vaughn Grissom is.
Okay, fair. You mentioned though, I mean, it's been a very slow off season for a lot of teams, and we talked about last time where it seems like the Braves have been quiet, but they've actually been the loudest team with all these moves coming in. But it's just not the moves you expect. So now they get Chris Sale. There was one big signing since we last were on the air, which was Yoshinobu Yamamoto going to the Dodgers, joining Shohei Ohtani and Tyler Glass now over there. What were your thoughts about that move? That we're not deferring 97% of that one for the next millennium. There, he's getting paid right now. So, what do you think about that? Does that change your opinion of the Dodgers? I know the answer to that question, but and this is your zone here, Sean. I got to hear what you have to say.
Um, are the Dodgers better with Yamamoto? Yes. Okay. I don't foresee there. I'm not so delusional that I'm going to say the Dodgers aren't better. But I just still don't think they have the best rotation in the National League. Um, and the thing is, dude, you are tying up. It's a 12-year, $325 million deal. So you're looking at just over $27 million a year for a dude that's never pitched a single pitch in the majors. Okay, so I understand that how great he has been, and I understand that he's 25, and I understand all of that. But he's not pitching in Japan anymore, and so we're gonna see. And he's got 2 opt-outs in the deal, but the first opt-out's not even until after the 6th year. It's in 2029, and then the second opt-out is after the 8th year in 2031. So the Dodgers are committing 27 million AAV. It is backloaded, so he's not actually getting 27 million every year, but for tax purposes and the books and all of that, it's 27 million AAV. They gave him a 50 million signing bonus, and then they also had to pay 50.6 million for his posting fee. So this is a $375 million deal for a dude that's never thrown a pitch in the major leagues, and he's not this big power arm. So you just kind of wonder, like, is he going to be as dominant here as he was in Japan? Because for $27 million, you better be dominant. That's big money. It's the biggest pitcher's contract in MLB history. It beat Garrett Cole's out by $1 million. And so, um, are they better? Yes, but I say all of that to say I still don't think the Dodgers they're not the best team in the National League. I don't think there's any way you get past, Shohei's not pitching this year. You get past, their top 3 or 4 guys, and their offense is just meh after that. And so, you're banking on, much like this is where the look, people that are watching on YouTube, I want everybody to get ready, because the look that Dave is going to give me here in just a second when these words come out of my mouth. Okay. The Braves and Chris Sale got what the Dodgers got in Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I'm not a Glasnow guy.
That's what they got. So, yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, when you look at the deal the Braves made for Sale, I would rather do that than have Glasnow and pay Glasnow what the Dodgers paid Glasnow.
Yeah.
Because your bank is still an injury-prone pitcher. So you're telling me that Glasnow, Yamamoto, Gonsolin's out all year with Tommy John, so Gonsolin's not going to be there. You've got Bueller coming back, who also isn't the most durable guy in the world, and Bobby Miller. So you're going to tell me that we're trotting out Yamamoto, Glasnow, Miller, and Bueller, and you're gonna try to sell me on this as some sort of juggernaut pitching staff? Like, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't think
that was.
It is. Is it a great? I think it's a. There's the look.
That was the look. Yep, I was just gonna say. Yeah,
that was the look. That was what I was calling for. That was what I was calling.
Yeah, you got to go to YouTube for that one.
But I do not think that. I still think the Braves, probably the Phillies, have a better rotation than the Dodgers, and a better pitching staff than the Dodgers, front to back, starters, bullpen, the whole nine. And after the Chris Sale deal, according to Fangraphs, Braves are projected to have the best rotation in baseball after the Chris Sale deal. So I'm not the only one that thinks that, now, of course, it's a top 5 rotation if they're healthy and if Yamamoto is here what he was in Japan. But yeah, I don't think it changes who the National League runs through. And I still think that you're just as likely to get to October and be the Dodgers and not have Glasnow, not have Bueller, and be hoping that Bobby Miller and Yamamoto can carry your rotation through the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not a Glasnow guy, so to me, I like saying that. What does Glasnow bring the Dodgers and Sale does bring the Braves? I don't think anything. I think there's an equal chance, and it's both higher than 50%. They're missing extended periods of time this season. I think that the one thing that Glass now does well, which is be a power pitcher, strike guys out. Sale does better. Um, but I don't know. I'm higher on Yamamoto than most, and I'll preface by saying that. So to me, I think Yamamoto comes over. I think he could have the best stuff in the world right now. I think that his pitches are. I mean, they're just majestic. I mean, they're things that a lot of American hitters have not ever seen before. That are very common in Japan. They just don't always translate into the states. What was that look for?
That's the return face.
What are
That's
you
the
returning
return
the
face
face
that,
for?
that you made
Do you
me.
not? I mean, do you not like every time the Japanese pitcher comes over from
That,
Japan, they bring this new pitch that we've never heard of before?
just the look was to say that, dude, Yamamoto's not pitching against Ronald Acuna Jr. and Mike Trout and Cody Bellinger and Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper
Yeah,
and yeah the yeah he's not pitching against those guys over there. And I promise you, those guys have seen stuff like Yamamoto's. So the look was that these guys have never seen stuff like
no,
him,
no, 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 no,
and
no.
that he has the best
I do
stuff in the
think he has.
world.
I think he has the best stuff in the world. I will stand by that. What I'm saying is the Japanese style of pitching is just so much different. That's the biggest thing. That they
Right.
use
Okay.
different arm angles. They
We can
use
see that.
different.
Yeah.
They mess with timing in different ways. That's more so what I mean is that they've not seen stuff like this. And there's
Okay.
a Japanese pitchers in total, not just Yamamoto. So I see where
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
disconnect
I'm with you
is.
now. We're good. I'm with you
Um,
now.
but
Yep.
they do things differently, and to me, I think he's gonna come over with that nasty stuff, and getting hitters timing off. I think he's gonna be really good. I will probably at some point put in a bet that he wins the Cy Young this year. That's how confident I am in Yamamoto coming over and being as good as he's going to be. Um, so I know you do the bets of the week usually, but I'm doing one this week. You can't stop me. And Bobby Miller, I'm a huge Bobby Miller guy. I think Bobby Miller's a really good pitcher. He's got very good power pitcher, and his numbers last year were incredible. Um, but as incredible as they were, they're also not as good as Bueller's numbers from the year before he got hurt. I mean, he was putting up crazy numbers. I think they have three aces and an ace made of glass on the mend right there in LA. I think they have the best staff in baseball personally. I hate that they've just like been able to do it because they shouldn't have been able to do it with signing Otani, but here they are. And so to me, I that move to me puts them in a spot where I'm worried as a Braves fan, but I'm still confident. I think, like you said, the road's still going to go through Atlanta to me. I think somebody has to go into Atlanta and beat the Braves. And the last 2 years, a team's been able to do it, but the year before nobody could, and they're better than that team. So to me, it's still up in the air. I don't think anything's been decided, but I think they got a really good pitching staff. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and again, they do. Like I said, I'm not sitting here trying to say they're not a top 5 staff. I don't think that. I just don't think that they. It just the question marks that Atlanta has with their staff. I still think the Dodgers have the same
Right.
questions
That's
now.
fair.
I don't think that they have any. That I guess that was more my point with whenever to clarify like why I don't think that it's just this huge thing that just sets them heads above everybody else. Because like I said, I don't think I think they have the same question marks Atlanta does. Is Bueller going to be there? Is Glass now going to be there? The Braves, Freed's went into the postseason the last 2 years either sick or hurt. Is Freed going to be there? Is Sale going to be able to hold up for a whole year? I think the questions are the same. And so when you look at those two staffs, and then you look at the rest of the team, the rest of the bullpen, the offense. I mean, yeah, like we said, the road still runs through Atlanta, so they're gonna have somebody's gonna have to come in, and like you said, the last 2 years the Phillies did that. They came in and punched Atlanta in the mouth, but the Diamondbacks did that to the Dodgers last year. So that's the beauty of playoff baseball, and that's why they play the games, and the games aren't played on paper. So I definitely think that I hope that now that he has signed, well, that my thought that when he signed that more things might happen, but man, we are still just like snails pacing it through the off season, man. Like there are so many people that just nothing,
Right.
absolutely nothing. And at some point they've got to do something, right? Like at some point, like this can't just be what it is until spring training. And so I feel like for the last like 4 weeks I've been like, oh, the dam's gonna break, the dam's gonna break. But it's like at some point you got to think that it's gonna have
Yeah.
to. You know, you've got Snell out there, you've got Montgomery out there, you've got Bellinger out there, you've got Stroman out there, you've got all those guys out there, and so hopefully, hopefully the ball gets rolling a little bit with the off season.
Yeah, this sucks. This objectively sucks. I hate it. Why there's nothing happening. Nobody's signing, nobody's trading. Why? This is the time of year. This is what we as sports nerds, as baseball nerds, this is what we look forward to. We like this more than the games half the time. And here we are, just twiddling our thumbs, waiting on nothing to happen. There's still earlier in the offseason, we were like, all right, who are we watching this offseason, see what they're going to do? And I named the Chicago Cubs. Do you know how many net MLB level players the Cubs have traded for or signed this offseason, Sean? And I know you know because I told you yesterday. What's that number? Yeah, a big fat
Zero.
zero. No players. They went out and got the one of the top managers available, and now I think they're just afraid of the Braves. They have to be. I mean, they just be like, well, we got no chance now with the Braves and the Dodgers and the Phillies, man. Let's just save money and hope for the best 15 years from now. But I mean, there's nothing going on. I've never seen an offseason like this in any sport. I mean, even like football opens up the free agency period, and by the time you wake up at 8 o'clock, there's like 15, 20 signings half the time. I gave it an opinion last time. I gave an opinion that I thought players were looking for those deferred money deals, not to the same extent as Otani, but for example, if you're going to sign a 10-year or a 5-year, $100 million deal, I think players are asking for 50 million and then defer 50 million. This is the best way to take care of your families. And you hear about all the time, all these athletes, they go bankrupt after they're done playing. Well, it's tough to go bankrupt when you're living off $10 million a year, and then you've guaranteed yourself that amount of money every year in one lump sum for the rest of your life. That's You're not going to go bankrupt, hopefully, if you do that. So, do you have any ideas here? What do you think beyond that?
I don't know. I don't know. Um, I will say that I'm glad that we are covering the Braves because if we were covering just about anybody but the Dodgers, it would be a horribly, horribly slow, just painful off season. So I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy to me how slow things are moving. It's crazy to me how little just action there is. And they're like, it's not even a thing where it's like, oh, there's smoke and we're just waiting to find the fire. It's like there are people out there that they're it is cold. The stove is off. There is no smoke. There is no fire. There is no nothing. Like
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. So I don't know. I'm ready for it to pick up. Like I said, we've got like 2 months until spring training. So at some point in the next 2 months, there will be some action. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it, outside of some bench pieces, I would say the Braves are probably done. I would say the Braves have made their moves. They've got their left fielder. They've got Chris Sale to try to shore the rotation up. They've secured the bullpen. You know, they filled that up with guys that just throw gas. And I think we'll find some guys to fill the last, handful of 40-man slots, and we'll call it the day. So
Yeah.
I think that could make for a slow next couple of months for Braves country. But I think we got to be happy with the fact that even if it didn't get addressed the way we might have wanted it to be addressed, we can't say the AA is not addressing the issues that we saw with the
Right.
team. So whether we think Kalinic's not the guy or Sale's not the guy, it's like he went out and got a left fielder and he went out and got a starting pitcher. So you've got to chalk that up because there's a lot of teams that are sitting there with twiddling their thumbs that have holes that they need to address and they're doing
Yeah.
nothing.
No, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good spot when you're as good as the Braves are, and you have the financial flexibility the Braves have to go and say, yo, let's just do what we got to do. We need 2 people. Let's just go get 2 people. Be done. Um, it shows they've spent money in the past in a way to keep them competitive, where they don't have to go out and go crazy, and they could just make their moves a little at their own pace. If A wants to be slow and play out the market, he can. Or if he sees Lucas Giolito sign a deal like he signed with Boston and goes, "Oh wow, I need to get somebody right now," he could have Chris Sale by the end of the day, which is exactly what he did after Giolito signed that contract. So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah, hopefully next time we have a lot of moves to talk about. I feel like I'm a broken record now. I ask this every week and they don't come through for me. But hopefully, fingers are crossed this time that this is the one where we actually get some stuff to talk about. And speaking of stuff to talk about, I have stuff to talk about. I have a prospect of the week that I bring to everybody every week. So I'm going to do that right now if I can, which I don't think Sean's going to stop me, right, Sean?
Nope.
Nope.
No complaints from me. No
Very
objections.
good. Well, let's talk then about Sabin Ceballos. Sabin Ceballos is an infield prospect for the Atlanta Braves. He is a 21-year-old third baseman for the team, and he's somebody who's got a few years to build into something for sure, at a position that maybe in 5 years or so, maybe that begins being time where an older Austin Riley needs to platoon a little bit or whatever it may be. And he's somebody who could definitely jump into that role. As mentioned, 21 years old. He was a third round pick by the Braves. Somebody who in college at Oregon showed a lot of power and one of the most explosive arms in all of baseball. He has got an absolute bazooka from third base. It's one of those players that you watch them throw and you go, "Oh wow, okay," like just pops off and is very noticeable how hard he throws a ball, and that's kind of the one thing that is going to give him some flexibility to play where he needs to. He had 18 home runs in 59 college games at the University of Oregon, and he had a 333 average during that time as well. He spent a little time between rookie and A ball this year. He currently has an ETA to the MLB of 2026, according to MLB.com. And that brings Sabin Ceballos a name to watch in the future years for potential third base platooning, taking over for Riley, or maybe a trade piece to get next year's Chris Sale if they need to.
Yeah, no, I always it's always interesting because when you talk about the Braves, like in their farm system, like it's so pitching heavy. It's pitchers, 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 pitchers. So I think it's good to bring some attention to some of these position players. And the other thing too is the Braves have so many of their guys locked up that it's really easy to just be like, oh, we ain't got to worry about that for the next 6 years, because everybody on the outfield, infield, outside of Orlando Arcia, like everybody's locked up, till 2028, I think at least. So I think I'm hoping that with this sale move and seeing kind of the way that AA pivoted, that maybe he is going to try to start holding on to some prospects
Yeah.
and kind of rebuild that farm system back up, just because there are so many of our guys that are locked into their spots that the deals that need to be made um, don't have to be huge. And so I think that's a good spot to be in as far as to rebuild the farm system.
Yeah.
So that is Dirty Dave's prospect of the week. So now we're going to roll right into our other weekly segment, the Sandman Surefire Bet of
I'm
the
ready to make
Week.
some money, Sean, but this
So,
is not.
so not not betting advice. The only betting advice I will give you is don't listen to Dave betting on Yamamoto to win the Cy Young. That's the only advice I'm going to give you, and that's to not bet. Okay, that is betting advice. Do not bet
Hey, you
on
can't do that. You
Yamamoto to win the
can't give
Cy
out
Young.
betting advice. We're gonna get shut down, man. The Major League Baseball and DraftKings, they're gonna be knocking on our front doors if you keep giving out this betting
They are.
advice, which you're not doing
Okay.
with your parlay of the week, the Sandman
No,
sleeper pick of the week.
no.
I'm excited for this one. What am I making money on this week, Sean?
All right. So, given the time of the year and what's going on, and the fact we're recording this on New Year's Eve, we are going with a New Year's Day college football parlay.
Ooh,
Okay. That's what we're rocking with. Okay. So, This will be out before the games start tomorrow. I will make sure that it's on social media in some capacity, whether it's the video, whether it's a clip, whether it's just the bet slip, whatever. I will make sure it's out there. But New Year's Day college football parlay. So I am taking LSU over Wisconsin, taking the money line. That's a minus 345. Um, Oregon and Liberty. This is insane. Dave, do you have any idea what the over under is on the Oregon and Liberty football game?
Football game. Well, I know that Bo Nix is Bo Nix and the Oregon offense are a good unit, and I think Liberty's pretty high. I don't remember offhand if Liberty's high scoring or low scoring. I'm gonna guess it's something crazy like 89 points.
No, not that high. Not that high. But it is. The over under is 68. 68 points in football is a bunch of points. Okay. Over under 68. I'm taking the under. As good as Oregon's offense is, when you look at what Georgia just did to Florida State, they still didn't hit the over, and they put 60 points up on Florida
Oh my
State.
goodness, they didn't.
They didn't hit. They didn't hit. Well, no, they didn't hit this over under. I don't know if they hit their over under, but they did. They put up 60 points on FSU, and they wouldn't have hit the over if the over under was 68. So taking the under in the Oregon Liberty game under 68, that is a minus 108 line. I'm going to take Iowa +5, taking the points against Tennessee. Iowa's defense is really good. They don't score, but their defense is really good. So I'm expecting this to be like a, 13-10, like this little low
Yeah.
scoring. Iowa keeps it within 5. And so I'm taking Iowa
Can
+5 against Tennessee. That's minus
can I
110.
jump in to say that that's probably the understatement of the year that Iowa doesn't score points in football? That is, I
was just being.
Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator for Iowa, that's going to get fired at the end of the season. He thanks you for being so kind and generous in your evaluation of him that they just don't score.
I was. So, but I'm going to take them
Okay.
+5.
Okay.
I'm going to take the points with Iowa against Tennessee. I think their defense will keep it close enough that they can cover the spread there. Bama and Michigan. I'm going to take the over. The line is 45.
Okay. It's low scoring, yeah.
I think Bama and Michigan will top 45. So I'm going to take the over 45 with Bama and Michigan. And then I think Texas beats Washington outright, but because the line is better on the points, I'm taking the points. So I'm taking -4. I'm taking the Longhorns -4 against Washington. That's a -110.
Horns up, baby.
-110.
Horns up, baby.
So total odds of 16-28. So $10 pays out 172.84.
Man.
So, like I said, I like those. So again, quickly, LSU over Wisconsin money line. Oregon and Liberty under 68. Iowa +5 against Tennessee. Bama, Michigan over 45, and Texas -4 over Washington.
Wow. It's crazy to think that if that was betting advice, how much money all of our listeners would make from that. But of course, that was not betting advice. And if you feel like you are irresponsibly betting, please call the hotline and get yourself a little bit of help. That's what they're there for. They are there to help. And don't be afraid to do it. We have one more segment that we have to finish off today's show. And that is we need to get our bullpens for our all-time Braves fantasy draft lineup. Of course, on social media, you saw that we put our lineups up. And Sean, I knew it was going to happen, but you got all the millennial TikTokers voting on that one. I saw that. All of us traditional baseball fans know that my lineup was definitely the better of the two lineups, but these kids, they can't get off TikTok. They're doing their Fortnite dances, and they all voted for the much younger, cooler side, which is yours.
Well, and I wasn't trotting out Wally Burger. So.
Okay, well, he's on my bench. I didn't trot him out. I trotted out Billy Hamilton. And I said last week, if you remember, I said, I better not hear Wally Burger slander anymore. And what do you do this week, Sean? What's the first thing you do? You give Wally Burger slander.
Look, you slandered him all on your own when you benched him after you drafted him as a starter. to begin with. Okay, that's all the
Listen,
slander that
listen,
anybody needs to
no,
hear. Anybody needs to know how good and how high we are on Wally Burger. That you couldn't even leave him in your lineup for
because Billy
whole week.
Hamilton fell to me. What? Billy Hamilton has 900
He fell to you.
steals.
He fell to you in the actual draft, and you took Wally Burger, and you still didn't take
I was
him.
between the two of them, man. And listen, the thing is that Wally is a team player, and he doesn't mind being our top bat off the bench. Some people have an ego, not Wally Burger. So no more slander from him. Absolutely not. I won't
no,
have it.
no more slander. Okay, not until next week. But all right. Anyway, all right. So I've got the coin here. We're gonna go coin flip for the first pick here. Okay. Now, Dave, you've not had a lot of luck with
0 for
this.
2.
0 for 2. So, are you going to do it again,
Oh, I'm
though?
doing it again. Oh, I don't
Are you?
learn. Tails
All right.
never fail, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to prove it right here. Boom. I can't see it.
That is
Yes,
tails. It's tails.
we got one, baby. All right, which was very good. This was the one I really wanted the first pick on. So I'm going to.
Well, there's a pretty obvious best Braves reliever ever. There's a pretty obvious one,
and
so
that is
I feel like we both knew where that was going to
yeah,
go.
Mr. Craig Kimbrell, come on over.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I knew that he was number one on the big board. I don't think it's particularly close. Only one you could possibly make an argument for, but we used him as a starter was John
Right.
Smoltz. So Kimbrel, obviously you took Kimbrel number one. So all right, here we go. I am going to take Eric O'Flaherty.
Wow. Okay.
Who had a heck of a run with the Braves.
Sure did.
And then I'm taking the best setup man in Braves history, Mike Remlinger.
Wow. I do love some Mike Remlinger. So for those that don't know, in Braves country, I grew up in Chicagoland area, and I grew up a Cubs fan when I was a wee little lad. And when the Cubs were good in 2003, Mike Remlinger was on that team as well, and he was a very good piece of that team. I remember really liking Mike Remlinger. So yeah, that was a good move right there. I really like that one. I think that we talked about this a little bit beforehand, and we mentioned that there's really a few different ways that you can draft a bullpen. And one option is you go after guys who pitched really, really long time, and they might not have been the best, but they were good or solid at the very least. And the other option is you can get guys who didn't play very long, but were so good you can't look past what they did in that short amount of time. And I said that I ranked one a little more higher than the other, and you said the same. But it looks like we might be in different directions, because I am going to be taking the 1 year of Billy Wagner right here. His season was absolutely incredible. And then I am going to do something I said I probably would not do, because I want to build an actual bullpen. But I feel like this really handicaps you here. So I'm going to take Mark Wohlers as my other bullpen guy here.
Okay. All right. Well, I am going to deviate just a little bit from my big board, just a smidge. I'm going to take Peter Moylan.
Okay.
So I'm going to take Peter Moylan, and because you said you handicapped me a little bit, I've got to get my closer. Okay. And if anybody knows anything about me, you know who my closer is going to be, because it was the brightest stars, they burn the shortest. You know what I mean? And
that's
so
a good way to put
I
it.
am going with the one, the only John
Yep,
Rocker.
John Rocker. I had him down a little bit on my list, and as soon as I typed in his name, I said, "There's a 0% chance I get this guy," because I ranked him way too low for where I knew you'd be taking him. So I put him in as one of my big board guys, but I knew I wasn't going to get him. That was never going to happen. So very good pick there. I'm going to continue going with guys who just had incredible moments or short seasons. So I am going to next take Mr. Tyler Matzik just for
Ooh.
just for the nuts of him in 2021. He was I probably reached on him, but I'd rather reach on a guy like that than settle for somebody I don't care for very much. And I'm going to go with another guy who had a very, very bright surge and then fell off into nowhere land. I'm going to take Johnny Venters here.
He was actually, believe it or not, he was just above Moylan and Rocker on
Wow.
my big board. So when I said I was going to deviate, that was where the deviation came from, and you got him. So yeah, Matzik, he could never pitch a quality game
Mm-hmm.
again, and he will be a Braves
Absolutely.
legend for the rest of time.
Absolutely.
That inning in 21 where he struck out Pujols, struck out, I can't remember the guy that batted in the middle, and then freaking 99 3 straight times to Mookie Betts and just set him down.
I uh, I
You'll
I believe, just for the record, I think it was Steven Souza that he struck out, but I could be wrong. It was yeah.
Souza, that's it. I knew it was with
Mm-hmm.
an S. You know, weirdly enough, the name that I kept coming into my head was Signs. Okay,
They're right
so
there.
that's a
Yeah.
baseball name for those. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, that was who it was. That whole thing, I'll never forget Luke Jackson sitting on the bench, just absolutely like head in his hands, like two guys on, second and third, nobody out, and Matzik just lets them drag and just leave. Chris Sale talked about leaving his nuts on the field. Matzik left his nuts and his elbow on the field in that 2021
Yep.
playoff
And
run.
we'll thank him
So
forever.
Matzik is a legend. Yes, absolutely. So I don't think that's a reach. I think that is an excellent pick because regardless of where he might be on a big board, you got to have a guy like
Right
that
in
in
your
your
heart.
board.
Yep.
So, all right. I am going to go with this is somebody that I remember watching when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. And so I'm going to see if I give you a little hint if it's going to give it away. But I always thought he had the absolute coolest facial hair.
Is it Kerry Lichtenberg?
The absolute Lightenberger.
Lightenberg. Yeah.
Lightenberg. Yep. Gary Lightenberg.
I was a
Yep.
kid when he was around, so I didn't know how to pronounce
So,
his name properly. Blame that on my youth. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Lightenberg. Yep.
He
Yeah,
was
that's all
on
right.
my
No,
list.
that's all
Yep.
right. So, yeah, Gary Lightenberg. I'm taking him. And then I am going to go with this is tough. I'm going to go with Greg McMichael.
Mm-hmm.
Greg
I like
McMichael.
that. I like that a lot. Um, okay, I am going to. Let me get that down here really quick. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so I'm going to. I keep second guessing my board now. I hate doing that. Ugh. Okay, I am going to. I'm going to take advantage of recency bias first, and I'm going to take Raisel Iglesias.
That's a good one.
And
That's a good one.
then you know what, Sean, I'm gonna do this to you because I think you thought you could sneak this guy at the very end. And if you know me, you know that I also have a liking for this guy. In two different
I
stints,
hate you.
in two different stints with the team,
I
he
hate you.
has. You made a joke about a couple weeks ago that he's only performed in Atlanta, but my goodness, has he performed in Atlanta? I am taking Jesse Chavez as my seventh bullpen arm.
That was where I was going
Mm-hmm.
here. You are
Yep.
correct. I did think that I could sneak him in there. Should have known better. So that stings. That stings a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. I almost took him over Greg McMichael. That was where I was at, and I was like, you know what? I have enough names here. I think Dave might let him slide, and so that one stings. But it's a good pick. It's a good pick. Like I said, he's Superman whenever he puts the Braves
Hmm.
uniform on. So, all right. Well, then I am going to go with my last two. I am going to go with Chris Hammond as my
Okay.
seventh pick,
Okay.
and my eighth pick because I haven't done any recency bias yet. So I'm going to let my last pick be a little bit of recency bias, and I am going to take AJ Minter.
Wow. Okay. Good for AJ Minter getting involved in this, man. I love to hear that.
That big lefty man just throws gas. I just
No, that's
him and Matic. Those are my dudes. So Minter's going to be my eighth and final guy out of the
I
pen.
love it. I think it's definitely a ballsy pick there, but I really like it. I'm deciding between two guys right now. Let me see. Who do I want to take here? Okay, you know what? I'm going with a crazy season. I'm going with a crazy season. Um, over a guy who did things for a long time. So I am going to take Johnny Venter's friend from back in the day, Chris Medlin, who had one of the best relief seasons I've ever seen in 2011 with a 1.5 ERA. Just came out and did anything you asked him to do. Took up long innings for you if you needed to, and I always like Chris Medlin, so I'm going to bring him eighth on my team here, and that is going to finish up our pitching staffs. Ooh.
So who was the last? Who was your last guy? Because there's one guy left in your big board. Who was the last guy?
The last guy was Gene Garber.
That's who my last
Yep.
guy was. So our big board was exactly the same, except you had Medlin and I had
Yeah.
Minter.
So,
So of the 16,
well,
we had 15 that were the same.
that's not true because I did not have McMichael or Hammond on my board.
Oh,
So I actually had four names left on here. It was Garber, Medlin.
wow.
I
Okay.
did put, even though I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, I did put Will Smith. He closed out the last game of a World Series win and was really good in those playoffs. So I thought about,
Dude, he was a completely different
yes,
guy. It was like the Will Smith that we watched all season. Like I almost wrote him down for that same reason but all the heart attacks I
yeah.
had during the regular
It wasn't,
season,
yeah,
him
no.
trotting out there, that was like it was hard for me to overcome that. But he was right there on that cusp of like that 16th spot. Like, am I going to put him there? Am I not? But that 2021 run with Will Smith was epic.
And
Also, so
the other one I had on here just for longevity, and I was going to make a joke that since you had, according to the TikTok millennial kids, the better lineup, I did want to bat in my bullpen, so I did also have Rick Camp as an option on here.
okay.
Come on, you got to get the
Yep.
bat for
So
Rick Camp.
I had
Clutch.
you got to get the yep, you got to get the bat, man. You got to get the bat. So well, we both left Gene Garber on our
Yep.
list then because that's the one guy on my list on my big board. He was the only one that I had left after I picked and you picked.
Yeah.
So he was the only guy that was
And
left.
he
But
definitely deserved a spot. I think if we both were just naming off the best eight Braves relievers, we would have done that. But
yeah,
you said you were building a bullpen. I was like, well, I'll build a bullpen as well. And I think I was able to do that. I think that I have enough guys that don't have an ego and can pitch the sixth and seventh inning that I think this bullpen's looking pretty good here. I don't know, man. I think that again, if as long as I get some true long term Braves fans looking at the pitching staff where they see the Warren Spahn, and the Phil Necro on there, if I get that, I think I got you in the pitching here, Sean. If I have to say so myself, but I'm biased, obviously.
yeah. Well, the thing about that though is if you look at mine, like you said, you're going to have to get some old heads because when you look at my starters, Maddox, Smoltz, Freed, Julio Tehran,
Hmm.
like and I didn't even put Kid Nichols in there, but just for the your TikTok millennials that you like
Yeah,
to
the
talk
Gen
about,
Zers. Ugh.
those four guys, those four guys are going to be like immediately pop off. And Braves country has a lot of really good memories with Julio Tehran. Like he was a very, very good pitcher during that bridge of where we had a few years we weren't very good. But I wanted to say he had like 5 or 6 consecutive opening day starts for Atlanta, and so I think the pitching staffs are both good. They're both solid
Mm-hmm.
pitching
Mm-hmm.
staffs. So
Yeah.
I think it will be interesting to see how that plays
Yeah.
out, and then we'll have to put the whole squad
I
together.
just so you're aware though, if I'm so confident that if you do win, I'm gonna call it a fraudulent victory. I'm absolutely going to say that we need a recount, and I'm bringing to the attorney generals, and I'm winning this one, Sean. I got the you got the hitting, I got the pitching, and I would love to see these two teams go 7-on-7. So we'll put up the pitching staff with the bullpens for voting this week on social media on X/Twitter. And then probably next week or 2 weeks from now, we'll put a full lineup, all the hitters, all the pitchers, everybody involved to see who has the best team as well. But Sean, I think that that just about does it for me on this episode of the Battery Mates. It's been full 2 weeks, and we still had to find stuff to do. So, again, mission accomplished. We're close to an hour. Again, like I mentioned last time, I said that was our magnum opus. I said that was the proof you needed that will get you through the off season, and we're just continuing on, man. I gotta give us a pat on the back if I think we're really rolling here, man. We're picking up momentum.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it was, but we had Braves news to talk about. So like that's a win this week, no matter what.
Right.
You know, now it is crazy if last week wouldn't have been Christmas, but we'd had a fun time trying to fill that episode up. That might have been the new magnum opus had we needed to record on Christmas Eve, but we didn't. And then AA went out and got Sale, and so um, yeah, man. So I guess we can take this home. So first things first, I do got to say Vaughn Grissom, best of luck. I love me some Vaughn Grissom. Hate to see him go. Didn't have a spot, but I hope that he goes to Boston, plays every day, and just absolutely kills it in Boston. So that's kind of my closing remarks. Is welcome to Atlanta, Chris Sale, and best of luck in Boston, Vaughn Grissom.
Well, I love it. That's a great place to end things. From the Battery Mates podcast, from the Sandman Sean and myself, Dirty Dave, we wish you all a very happy and healthy 2024. We hope that your 2023 was phenomenal and it only gets better from here. We're excited to join you in your drives to work or wherever you may listen to our show in the 2024 year. And as mentioned before, this is the year the Braves win the World Series. So I'm ready to start celebrating now, but we got about 10 months till we get there. So with that note, I will say goodbye from the Sandman Sean and myself, Dirty Dave. We will catch you all on the next one.